Okay, we're going to walk through the settings that must be done on your master iPad on the iPad. And we get to those settings, of course, by clicking this cogwheel. All right, there are many sections on the left, and then there are corresponding adjustments on the right. We're going to start at the top and work our way down. And the first one we're going to change is the notification section. So I'm going to tap notifications. And notifications, honestly, are a polite term for interruptions that pop up at your students on their screen. And we want to minimize those distractions. So the way we turn various notifications off is by clicking on each one here and then making adjustments to it. The first one we'll adjust is Game Center. Yours might be in slightly different order. That's okay. We're going to turn the notifications for Game Center off. That doesn't mean they can't use it for educational games. We're going to turn all of these off, though. All of these little sliders that you see, and then we're going to click None. Okay, and then we'll click Notifications up here again to get back to that section. Okay, next one we're going to click is Photos. We're just going to turn that off, as well as these others, the other switches, and the alert style again to None. Messages. We are going to simply turn that off completely, making sure that all switches are off. And FaceTime. We're turning FaceTime off because video conferencing via iPad is a huge bandwidth hog, which we simply don't have the capacities to support. Okay, so back to notifications. Notice here, we'll leave calendar and mail. Notice that those we just adjusted that are no longer in notification mode are listed here below. So if you ever had reason to go back and switch them, this is where you'd find them. All right, next section on the left, the General tab. This is a fairly long section. We're only going to adjust certain parts. First, here where it says Siri, we're just going to double check and make sure that that is switched to off. Okay? Has not worked well in class with people talking to their keyboards trying to get it to type for them with 20 other kids doing that. Okay, sliding down here, we want to make sure that iTunes Wi-Fi sync is not enabled. And if it is not, you won't have that choice here, so we're good. Okay, auto lock. Auto lock means that it turns off your iPad at the number of minutes set here. It's very annoying to have your screen turn off every 2 minutes that you don't touch it. So I like to bump that up to at least 5 minutes. Honestly, I tend to set mine to 15 so that they won't accidentally have their screen turning off. Okay. Passcode lock. You need to train your students to never ever touch this. If they put an auto lock, passcode lock in here themselves and forget it, they will lose their data and you won't have a way of unlocking it. So this is a training issue. Make sure your students are staying out of settings, and especially don't put passcode lock on there. Okay, the very next section, restrictions. This is where teachers can restrict access to things like the camera if you had maybe a discipline problem with that. I highly recommend that you enable restrictions, but don't restrict anything. Why would you do this? Well, by clicking Enable Restrictions, you'll be prompted for a code, and I'm going to suggest you, the teacher, put in 0000, and of course don't tell your students this. It'll ask you to enter it again, 0000. Why are we doing this if we're not going to restrict? It is so that the students don't get in there and mess around with that and then restrict you after forgetting their code. So by entering it in, we have assured that we have set the code, and do yourself a favor, put in 0000 and you won't forget it. Okay? Scrolling down here, we are basically done with the General tab. Okay, so moving over here onto the left-hand side, we're going to skip down to Privacy. The Privacy section is important, and we're going to start at the top with Location Services. That is left on. However, there's a hidden section down here called System Services. Click on that, and we're going to turn off the middle two switches, Diagnostic and Usage, which uses up bandwidth needlessly, and location-based advertisements called iAds. We're going to turn that off as well. Okay, and you're done with the location system services section. And so we're going to click here again back to privacy. Okay, now moving down through the privacy tab, we're going to double check, making sure that when we click on photos, I just clicked on the photo section, that you don't have choices here. And if you do, make sure that it's turned off. Okay, on the left, next section, iCloud. Please make sure you're never tempted to enter this with your Apple ID unless you are fully aware of the implications of iCloud. This gets into serious privacy concerns, and for now we're going to leave it alone. Okay, we're going to skip the mail section until you set that up later, but we're going to click now on iMessages or Messages. Just like iCloud, make sure that you do not ever enter your Apple ID here. If you do, what can happen is your personal iPhone text messages can begin showing up on iPads. So by never entering this here, you eliminate that risk completely. Okay? FaceTime, same thing. Just don't enter your ID and all is well. All right? Next, iTunes and app stores. Once you enter this section, you will want to go ahead and enter your Apple ID. I'm going to put mine in real quick. Okay, and then you'll have to put in your password. And once you do, you'll see what happens. Okay, then you're going to click Sign In. Once you've signed in, two extremely important switches appear. Automatic downloads. If you turn these on, apps you download on your personal iPad or iPhone at home will start showing up here. So you want to make sure these are turned off. Okay, on the left, moving down to photos and camera, we want to just double check that all switches on photos and camera are turned off. All right, you are now essentially done with the individual iPad settings that we do on the iPad itself. We're now ready for the next section of the process, and let's look at that together.